Welcome to the Love Government. I'm Dennis Leary. We're doing a series of videos called Sex Cards. We're now on the 37th episode out of 52, which is shown here in the total story, the game, the layout, the program, the project is shown here in brief. Putting it all in a nutshell, it's contained here. This card is called Orange because we are in the suit of light, going up the suit of light. The card is called the Two of Light, and it's orange, the second level of the light spectrum. First red, then orange. The orange idea is portrayed by a card, love card, tarot card, called the Queen of Cups in the tarot card, love card system. This card has two decks that are joined together and interactive decks. One is conceptual, called consciousness cards. This is an old system here. This is the small card. And the other card is the backside of the tarot card. These cards spin, they produce energy and information, and that's why we use them. Let's take a look at this card then. First of all, on the positive side, which is called fire, orange fire. The negative side is called a pyre. In other words, a funeral pyre. Two words, the two sides play off of each other poetically and by ideas. They generate energy that way. You can see both sides and they spin like a turbine. Then you can make choices and you can use both of the sides with each other to generate energy. In other words, taking orange, I'm attracted to an orange fire. Yes, that's the positive side. I might want to go make a campfire, sit around the fire. That's the positive side, but it has a negative side. Fires are also used at funerals. In the old things, it becomes a pyre. You can get burned by fire if you don't know how to use it correctly. Touch your hand on a stove, you burn yourself. Or if you're not careful around a campfire, you could fall into the fire. Or you could get caught in a forest fire. Or your house could burn down. All kinds of things. Fire can go both ways, in other words. It can be a nice fire to help you, or it can be a pyre. It can be your funeral. And then you will be put on a funeral pyre, your body will, or you'll be cremated, or you'll do a slow burn in a grave. That's the other side of life. So in the love government, we have two sides of the cards, we have two sides of life, and we take into account both of them, and then we go down the middle somewhere. On the positive side, there is a Queen of Cups holding up a cup of fire, called a censer. There's fire in there, charcoal or something, wood maybe. That's one of the four elements of traditional elements. They're all womb signs. A woman has fire inside of her because she uses her own bodily fire to make a baby or to express herself in sexuality. Sexuality is a fire. It can burn you up and with passion. That's one of the elements. So the other element is water. Woman, we all are made with water, man and woman. Water flows through us all the time, circulating water. It's another element. The air, we breathe in the air, breathe in oxygen, that makes combustion, makes fire inside of us. And then the earth, we're on the earth. Those are the four elements. Traditionally, the fifth element is called the quintessence. Quint means fifth in Latin. Quint, the fifth essence. What's that? The quintessence of life is love. That's the fifth element, always. Love supports everything, including the four elements. That's portrayed in this card. Love is the fifth element. And in this case, the lover is called the Queen of Cups. She's holding up her cup, sitting on a throne. The cup has two black angels on its side to remind us that there's a dark side to this, to fire. You look very, very closely at those angels, it looks like a man and a woman. So a man and a woman can make magnificent love together. Passionate, unrestrained love that will create not just a child, but create a new world. But if they're not careful, they can get burned by love. You can get burned by love all the time, you do. Because we don't understand it, what love really is, and we get burned. Even to the extent of, being suicidal over rejection. The lover is holding up her cup of fire, which is a symbol of her sexuality. She's burning with love. Yeah, there is that dark side. So there's the saying that if you can't take the heat, don't go near the fire. If you can't take the heat, don't go near the fire. Don't go too close to the fire. If you do, make sure you're careful, because you could fall and be burned. So in a life, we can be burned, or we can be turned into lovers. That's the choices that we have. The love government brings out the choices that we have. On the negative side, then we have a funeral pyre scene here. On the negative side. That we have the Page of Wands. There's a young man, a page. Could be a woman also. And this is also a fire symbol. The salamanders on his dress are fire symbols, as I said before. Salamander was considered a fire symbol because when they made fires, sometimes these reptiles would run out. When the fire started, they didn't want to get burned. So people thought, whoa, that fire has a spirit to it, called salamander. Once again, we see a desert scene here. There's 3 pyramids in a desert, as the previous card. This is the wasteland, the desert of patriarchy, with the 3 pyramids of power, like the 3 pyramids in Giza. Those are phallic symbols showing primarily the power of the society at that time. The page appears to be masturbating. That's a erected wand, a penis, in other words. But it's out of a love context. If it's in the middle of a desert, masturbation is nothing wrong with it as such, but what is the surrounding? What's the circumstances of it? If it's in a love context, it's going to be loving. And if it's in a power context, a destruction context, if it's about power and destruction and money and exploitation, then the penis or the phallus becomes a power symbol wrecking all this destruction. That's what patriarchy does, but it's all under a lie system. As opposed to that, we have the love system portrayed on the positive side as fire. The queen holding up her cup, which is her sexuality, her symbol, and saying, in effect, love is passionate. Love is all-consuming. In a love culture, if there aren't blocks, if there aren't lies and hindrances placed in our way, then sex becomes a little death. And our death becomes a big orgasm, release, climax into the lover's body. Our body burns up, our body falls away, but that's not who we are totally. It's part of us in this lifetime. But then who we are at death, we drop off this physical body, then we orgasm into real life, a bigger life, which is the lover's body. That's what we call death sex is a little death. Because in the climactic action of sex, we change into another consciousness. We actually go into the lovesciousness if it's supported in a love culture. If it's just about money, prostitution, pornography, consuming something, trying to get something, buying something, or forcing something, putting violence into sex, then it's not going to be much. It's going to be just a release of tension and energy and something to do, something to make money with maybe. An escape mechanism that uses and abuses the natural order of things, which is a full, on-out, passionate, loving action that's fire-like. Well, we damp it down, we kill it off in our culture, which is anti-love. And one of the ways we do that is through birth control methods, abortion, and dysfunctional child rearing, going right back to the moment the child is conceived. We'll talk about this more in detail later on somewhere, but in a love culture, there was a natural type of birth control. We didn't have to use pills or diaphragms or condoms or dysfunctional pills because sex was natural. There was a well-regulated, well-governed method of birth control. Anovate for years for a young woman, and then when the mother had the baby, nursing is another natural birth control. And then when she becomes a matron, then of course that's a menopause. And at this point in the thinking is where clitoral thinking comes in versus the vaginal system. If the emphasis on sex, passion sex, it's a clitoral. The clitoris is the main focus on the part of man and woman. Man has a clitoris, by the way. It's a clitoral system of lovemaking. And in that system, you're not concerned about reproduction per se. So you don't have to worry about birth control. If it's, in other words, masturbation of the clitoris, man or woman, self-masturbation or with another partner, mutual masturbation or community masturbation, it's all safe because there's no reproduction involved yet. If you make the distinction between clitoral and vaginal in your sexual practices, you don't have to worry about birth control. Now, if the woman or the community wants to have a baby, then it's vaginal, then it's uterine. That's a different system. It's a secondary system, really. Then you have to worry about birth control methods. But even if you don't use natural birth control, in the love cultural sense, you can still practice safe sex and not have to support the pharmaceutical industry, the corporations that are making these birth control devices, and certainly you don't have to go by way of abortion, which is still a killing method. That's why the love government is against this type of birth control, this type of abortion, and then the conception of the child is important in so far as what's really going on at the moment of conception. Is it about money, force, power? Just goofing off? Doing it with drugs and so on? That's going to affect the conception of the child right at the beginning. So, in the conclusion, is that if we're going to get burned up with love in a natural method and not burned out on a pyre method, we have to be innocent as doves and wise as serpents, as the Bible says. We have to know what we're doing or we're going to get burned. Thank you for being with us on this journey. Thank you for supporting this program. Everybody counts if we're going to restore the world to its original, true status. Thank you. We leave then with a love sign, which is simply a high five, and we say love, love, and always more love. Thank you.